Do you ever wonder why some people just nail hosting? Being a host does not need to be that difficult. It is actually easier than you think. Today, I'm kicking off a series for all things hosting, starting with the planning, the preparation, setting the right atmosphere, the food. We are going to cover it all. Hosting is near and dear to my heart, so I'm so excited for this series. To kick off the series, today we're going to focus on the foundations. What you need to know and what you need to think about when you're going to host. Think about this as a starter's guide to hosting. My name is Zaida De La Fuente, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. To kick off this video, I really want to take the time to explain to you why I love hosting so much. I'm originally from Madrid, Spain, with two very Spanish parents, especially my Spanish mother. She's the life of the party, she's a cooking extraordinaire, and has always had the skill set to make everyone feel so warm in her house. I have vivid memories when I would have friends over for a sleepover. We would wake up in the morning and we would walk into the kitchen and my mom would have a full spread of food. Smoked salmon, which, mind you, we were in 5th grade being fed smoked salmon. Fresh eggs, bacon, potatoes, freshly cut fruit. The table was plated, everyone had their own napkins, and we were ready to dig into the buffet that my mom had made. The time my mom took to prepare, to plate, and to serve us all this amazing food was something that my friends and I truly felt. We felt that love come through hosting and through food, and that's something I've taken with me ever since. Now that you know a little bit about me and why I love to host so much, let's get into my top 10 tips to hosting to make you an amazing host as well. Tip number 1, stop being scared to host. I think a lot of people build their own anxiety about hosting, thinking they need to have the perfect home, need to know how to cook certain dishes, and that is not the case at all. Hosting is how you make other people feel when they come into your home, breaking bread and sharing laughs with one another. So focus less on the perfectionism of the things and more about how you want to make your guests feel. Tip 2, preparation and planning. This is critical to hosting. I typically like to plan the menu about a week in advance. And one thing to think about when you're creating a menu is your guests. Okay, and what I mean by that, if your guests love chocolate, make sure you have a dessert on your menu that includes chocolate. Or if you know that your guests/friends love mac and cheese, add mac and cheese into a side. These personal touches go such a long way with guests, and they're gonna realize that, and that will make them, again, feel thought of and super special when they come into your home. Tip number 3, know your guests. And what do I mean by that? Know if your guests have any food allergies or if there are foods that they typically avoid. For an example, let's say your guest doesn't love vegetables. It doesn't make a lot of sense for you to make your famous cream of spinach side dish if your guests aren't going to enjoy it. So really put the guests and their needs at the forefront when you're thinking about what you're going to serve. And when in doubt, ask your guests. It is completely okay to ask your guests of some preferences that they may have if you're thinking about certain foods to cook. You never want to assume. You always want to know and be certain that what you're going to be serving to your guests is going to be enjoyed. Tip 4, create a welcoming atmosphere. This by no way means you have to go and buy a new couch, new decor, and go to Home Goods to buy yourself into a welcoming atmosphere. Focus on what you can control, and that doesn't cost any money. And first impressions matter. So one of the things that you can do is when your guests arrive at the door, open the door, welcome them in, take off their coats and escort them into your house. Don't open the door in a frenzy and run back to the kitchen to try and finish cooking any food that you have left to cook. Really take the time to welcome them in, and that will make a lot of difference. Something else that you can do is once guests arrive, have the appetizers and drinks ready. Offer them a drink. Let your guests relax. That's going to make all the difference. And a bonus tip, if you have the food laid out for appetizers and you're not seeing them take a bite, you be the first ones to take a bite. That way the guests know it's all right to dig in. There are a couple other things that you can think about that a lot of people miss when hosting. The first is the AC. You've been cooking all day, you have the oven running, you have the cooktop going. It's gonna be warm in your house. So you wanna make sure you set the AC to a comfortable temperature. Second, the music. The music is such an easy tip for you to set the right vibe. I typically like to have the Pandora station up on the TV, and John Mayer radio is the best. Tip number 5, know your progressions. What do I mean by that? I think something that's really cool and different that you can do when you're hosting people over is have a progressional dinner within your own home. So let's say you have a house, you can start the appetizers on an island, then move to a table for the formal dinner portion, and then even have dessert in the living room while you're playing games. Maybe if you don't have a home and you have an apartment, you can start with the appetizers by the TV area and then progress to the island or a high-top dinner. This will keep the night fun and exciting for your guests, will keep them guessing, and will allow your guests to not have to sit or stand the whole time. Tip number 6, give love to your table. This may be the Spanish in me, but I am about all things tablescape. Whether it's a tablecloth, the table pad that goes underneath the cloth, cloth napkins, cloth table mats. Having these cloth items elevates your table so much more than if you were to have paper plates or plastic utensils. Having anything plastic really just gives off an unpolished look and feel. You want to make sure you're avoiding that when guests come over. Tip number 7, food and decor. If you're starting off your hosting journey, the biggest tip I can give you is to keep it simple when it comes to food and decor. Now there's a lot to unpack when it comes to food and decor, so I'll be talking about that in other videos. But for right now, just know, take baby steps. And I'll be excited to talk to you about my philosophy on decor that I think will be a hot take. Tip number 8, stay relaxed and have fun. This is probably one of the most important tips. You want to make sure that you're having fun, you're going with the flow, you're enjoying talking with your guests, that you're having sets a tone for the whole night. So if you're stressed out, not engaged in conversation because you're too worried preparing food, your guests are going to feel that. So go with the flow and focus on the memory that you're making. Have genuine conversations and just enjoy the time that your friends are in your house. Tip number 9, don't forget the leftovers. This is a tip that I think separates good hosts from great hosts. And what do I mean by it? Everyone loves a good to-go box. So if your guests have any leftovers on their plate, or there's any leftover food that you have prepared, there's nothing better than to have a nice takeaway box ready to give your guests on the way out. Think about it. When you go to a restaurant and you're too full to finish the food, you don't want it to go to waste. You want to take it home and enjoy it for lunch the next day. And that's what your guests want to do as well. So don't forget about those takeaway cartons. Tip number 10, learn from each event. Like everything that you do in life, you can learn from your actions. Whether it's improving a recipe, learning how to better engage with your friends, planning and timing food preparation out a little bit better. There's always a takeaway for you at the end of an event that you can improve for the next one. So stay patient. This is a journey, and I'm here to help you. I hope you enjoyed today's video and be on the lookout for the next hosting video as we continue to take this journey together to make you an amazing